Okay, Ppdp video number 1. The first conference, the first meeting I went to was bright and early on Friday morning. Leslie was in attendance. It was Paul Dumpkin, who is, I guess, very well an esteemed professor. He did a talk on, it was called Beyond Critical Pedagogy for Popular Visual Culture. Okay? The gist of his talk was, and Leslie asked, did you understand any of that? Because it was, a lot of it was highbrow. But I did get it. I got what he said. It's basically critical thinking about critical thinking. You know, in discipline-based art education, one of our standards is art criticism, okay? But the students, he was saying, may be so comfortable in their own preferences that they just kind of play along with a teacher trying to criticize pop images that the students have grown up with, have grown to love, or just comfortable with. They play along and they passively aggressively resist any teacher's attempts to criticize these well-known comfortable images for themselves. It's the teachers basically calling on students to release their mindsets and meta-see almost, thinking about seeing when maybe the groundwork's not there for students to do it, or maybe they're just resistant to the whole idea. The students may have a strong affective relationship to the culture in which they are immersed. Obviously, you're emotionally involved in your culture, and they feel that if a teacher is criticizing these images, they're almost criticizing the students. So who, unless you're super confident, who is going to speak out and say, oh, you know, I love that image, or I really identify with that image, when a teacher, you know, in a position of authority is up there saying, look at this, look how strange this is. Not going to happen. So students just maybe kind of sit there or play along or nod in agreement when they're just not taking it in. To get beyond this, a teacher must reject the prima facie evidence as sufficient evidence of learning. And for our grant participants, you don't just do an art project and consider that evidence of learning. You have to really get down to the nitty-gritty proof that learning has taken place. Okay, got a couple of names here from Mr. Dumpkin. Judith Williamson. It's not enough to examine the media. They must create a personal crisis. Some students, the teacher must create a personal crisis. I'm not exactly sure what that means. I'm going to talk to Leslie about that. Let me write a note here. Leslie. The teacher must create a personal crisis for the student. It seems scary to me, and it seems that a teacher would have to be very well practiced in doing that for her students in order to bring them back from a crisis that she has created in her classroom. Sue Turnbull, another name. Students assume a pose of criticality to obtain a teacher's approval, playing along, but it's only a cultivated survival strategy discarded outside of class. Okay. All right. Another name, Sarah Bragg. She showed her students violent images, but simply disrespecting them was ineffective. This is a teacher who's done visual culture studies, hopefully lessons, and another person that I can research a little bit, Sarah Bragg. Okay. Mikkel Barkton. He believes that there's truth to be found in dialogue without authoritativeness. He challenges teachers to step down from this pose of authority and engage their students in critical dialogue that's, I guess, you don't want to say comfortable, because if it's comfortable, what's learning? Is learning taking place? Probably not. Okay. And he suggests, there's also a Karen Cummings and a Pam Taylor, some more names. Admit your confusion or haziness, which may allow quiet students to stand up. Okay. All right. Well, got some names. We're going to have to look and see what they mean by this and talk to Leslie about this one. But very informative, a good heady kickoff to the conference. Okay. End of Ppdp video 1.